And I can't imagine being a victim of a mass shooting, much less having to relive it as much as these victims do, but they're using that horrible experience for good.
You know, I actually talked to two shooting survivors, one who was at the Las Vegas massacre, another who was in Arapahoe in Colorado. And one thing they really did mention, Matt, is reliving that after this Parkland, Florida, based on their experiences.
The places change, the number of deaths change, but the choice of weapon remains the same. No other developed nation comes close to the rate of United States gun violence.
You feel for the victims because you know exactly that feeling of that terror and fear of being in a classroom. And you know, Parkland was so horrific and so tragic, and you can't help but think that, okay, when's the next school shooting? Because that's the point I've come to now.
Scott Ayers is a school shooting survivor. He was a student during the 2013 shooting at Arapahoe High School in Centennial, Colorado.
At this point in time, we believe the shooter that is deceased is the only individual that was armed in this school today and came here to cause harm to the students and/or faculty of this facility.
As a victim, Ayers said there were signs and incidents involving the gunman prior to the shooting. He also said that we cannot overlook mental health and the easy access to weapons.
Being educated about that is so important, because it doesn't matter how many people have guns. If there's someone who's, you know, really disturbed and no one does anything, there's going to be more problems that arise from that.
I talked to another shooting survivor, Nicole Smith. In October, she was attending a country music festival with her sisters in Las Vegas. It turned into the deadliest mass shooting in American history as a gunman opened fire on the crowd, leaving 58 people dead and injuring more than 500.
When you're actually in those situations, you don't know how you're going to act until you are there in that situation. And I ran. I had my two sisters by my side and I ran.
Smith is both a teacher and mass shooting survivor. She said going through an active shooter training prior to Las Vegas ultimately saved her life.
So we need to understand what to do in those situations. And so I think education is key.
According to a Fox News poll, 38% say it is extremely important for Congress to pass gun legislation for this year, but only 7% think that it's extremely likely to happen. Ayers told me he's inspired by the recent movement of students protesting to gun violence, but thinks it's a shame that more of these actions were not being taken earlier.
It feels like every single month, almost every single week. That's a problem, and if we as Americans don't make changes, I don't know, it's hard to be proud of that. It's hard to be proud of to be an American if we don't make changes to gun violence.